Some of you might know me, maybe as one of the old guard of Silicon Valley, or perhaps just that guy. I was once at Spaceway Technologies, one of the shining stars of this valley. A quarter century, easy to say, 25 years. I dedicated the most productive years of my life, my brightest ideas, my sleepless nights, to that company. You'd think that many years would grant you a kind of immunity. You'd carve out a place, take root. But this is Silicon Valley. Here, loyalty can sometimes be seen as a weakness rather than a rare virtue, especially when the young, dynamic, and ruthless new generation has set their sights on your seat. My story is about a man who lost everything overnight. But it's also the story of how lost honor, stolen labor, and injustice transformed into the seeds of a silent revenge. This isn't some Hollywood movie revenge, full of explosions and guns. This is much colder, much more calculated, and, believe me, far more devastating. It's like a game of chess. Every move, every thought, every step prepares for the big move to come, and in the end, you say, checkmate. Why am I telling this? Because this isn't just my story. This valley is full of people like me. Their voices aren't heard. Maybe my story will inspire someone. Maybe someone will start to see what's behind the masks of these new generation CEOs.
Let's get to know the key players first. I'm David Carter, old school, knowledgeable, experienced, a creative guy who knows every cell of technology like the back of his hand. For 25 years, I dedicated my life, my intellect, to one company. I was loyal. Too loyal, perhaps. Maybe that was my biggest mistake. My emotional intelligence was as developed as my technical intelligence, which is why I valued people and relationships. But this valley sometimes sees emotional intelligence as a weakness. I have no tolerance for injustice, especially when my hard work is disregarded. That's why the anger inside me didn't break me. It only sharpened me. Ethan Blake, the CEO, the company's new shining star. Young, dynamic, charismatic, and just as ruthless. You wouldn't understand anything by looking at his face. Just like a perfect poker player. He does everything under the guise of vision, innovation, and dynamism. In reality, his only concern is to line his own pockets, and while doing so, to sweep away the old order, people like us. In his view, we are slow and behind the times. His weakness? His arrogance and his obsession with money. And of course, the dirty secrets he hides behind that shiny image. Rachel Kim, marketing director. She became my biggest ally. Smart, talented, and conscientious. At first, she was scared. Yes, who wouldn't be? But as she saw how Ethan was driving Spaceway Technologies into a dead end, her sense of justice prevailed. Thanks to her, we exposed Ethan's dirty laundry. She was one of those rare people who respected an old guy like me and believed in ethical values. Marcus Hale, my legal brain, my old friend, sharp-witted, knows the rule book by heart, a meticulous lawyer who screens everything with a fine-tooth comb. Our friendship, forged years ago, was perhaps a blessing from fate. He was the one who guided us through legal labyrinths, calculating every step. Now, visualize these characters in your mind. Because this story isn't just about a business lawsuit. It's also a portrait of human nature, loyalty, greed, and the pursuit of justice. It all started that morning. It was precisely the morning of that significant day when I was about to complete a quarter century at Spaceway Technologies. I felt a sweet anticipation inside. But, as fate would have it, instead of the congratulatory messages I expected, only one name appeared on my calendar.
Ethan Blake. Ethan, the company's young, dynamic, and utterly ruthless new CEO. His rise was like a hurricane, as if he'd sworn to sweep away the old order. People like us, the obsolete ones, being called to his office, that usually wasn't a good sign. Ethan's office was as it always was, minimalist, cold, and even the valley view through its glass window wasn't enough to ease my anxiety. I sat in the chair. He, as usual, was staring at his computer screen, his fingers dancing wildly across the keyboard. Then he looked up, his eyes never meeting mine. His tone was ice cold, and the words spilled from his lips like bullets.
David, Spaceway Technologies is undergoing a major transformation. We need a new vision, new energy. We need fresh minds to take the company forward. And that means we need to make space. You've added a lot of value to this company, but your time has passed, David.
I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. It wasn't just me. Rachel Kim, who was sitting in the chair next to me and with whom I'd worked shoulder to shoulder for years, was also frozen. Silence fell for a moment. Then I collected myself. 25 years of dedication couldn't be erased in one swoop. I fixed my gaze on him, trying to suppress the shock in my voice. What do you mean, my time has passed, Ethan? I've been with this company for 25 years. I've worked just as hard as you to get Spaceway Technologies where it is today. Ethan's lips curled slightly, a mocking smile.
Look, David, this isn't an emotional matter. This is a business decision. The company is getting younger, taking on a more dynamic structure. Your experience is valuable, yes, but the agility and vision we're looking for now. We see that you're struggling to keep up with it. As years pass, some things slow down. You have to accept that.
Slow down? I exploded. Who do you think managed Spaceway Technologies' most critical AI projects in the last decade? I have one of the biggest shares in this company's growth. This is ageism, Ethan, and you're trying to package it as vision. My voice sounded angry even to my own ears. I saw the look on Rachel's face. It was a mix of shock and pity. Ethan shrugged, leaning back. He didn't even care anymore.
Call it what you want. The decision has been made. You need to clear out your office today. HR will prepare the necessary paperwork and you'll get what you're owed. There's no point in dragging this conversation out any further.
In that moment, it was as if 25 years of my life flashed before my eyes. The sleepless nights, the projects I'd racked my brain over to find solutions, all of it suddenly felt worthless. Ethan's ruthlessness only strengthened my resolve. A silent volcano had erupted inside me. Years of accumulated loyalty had given way to a sharp anger and cold determination. When he told me, "Your time has passed," he didn't yet know that his own time was also running out. He didn't know it yet. The first few days after I left Spaceway Technologies felt like an old tree being ripped from its roots. That rhythm I was used to, the daily routine, the world I belonged to, it was all shattered. But the emptiness, after a while, created space for thought. Rumors from around, and especially the first hints from Rachel, slowly revealed Ethan's true intentions behind his innovative vision mask. Maria Torres, who was appointed in my place, was young and inexperienced. It was clear she was already part of Ethan's inner circle. It was impossible for her to understand the colossal projects I managed. And that wasn't the intention anyway. Ethan wanted to discard experienced, high-salaried executives like me and hand over all projects to a low-paid, ineffective staff. This wasn't just ageism. It was also a move to rot the very core of the company. It had only been a few weeks since I left the company when I received a much more critical phone call than I expected from Rachel. Her voice was a whisper, filled with anxiety and a touch of fear.
David, you won't believe what I'm hearing. Ethan is trying to sell some key Spaceway Technologies projects to a Chinese firm. And he's doing it by disregarding the company's patent rights and at a price far below its actual value.
When I hung up the phone, the fire of that volcano that had erupted inside me had turned into cold steel. This wasn't just a personal injustice done to me. Spaceway Technologies was a company I had dedicated years to, believing in its technology and ethical values. The leaking of my efforts, even the collective intelligence of my entire team, to an outside party, and so cheaply at that? This was unacceptable. Ethan's move wasn't just a business mistake, it was also a serious ethical and legal violation. What's more, it posed a threat to national security. This information became a turning point for me. The issue was no longer just about my termination. The issue was the future of Spaceway Technologies, justice in the industry. In that moment, the first step of my silent revenge plan became clear: to launch an ethical and legal war against those trying to rot Spaceway Technologies from the inside. But while doing so, no one would be able to guess how far I was willing to go. I had taken out the war axes, yes, but I was keeping them hidden. Attacking openly would be a move Ethan would expect. That wasn't my style. My style was to be invisible, to rot the enemy from within. My first goal was to gently undermine Ethan's seemingly unshakable reputation and Spaceway Technologies' trust in the industry. I started contacting my old clients. I had solid, long-standing relationships with them. Most of them still trusted me. I sent them subtle but suggestive messages. For instance, I'd say, "There have been some major changes at Spaceway Technologies. If you have any concerns about the future of your projects, I'm always here for you." This wasn't a direct accusation, but it was enough to create whispers in the industry. When smart clients realized that projects no longer had someone as knowledgeable and reliable as me at the helm, a seed of doubt was automatically planted in their minds. And you know, doubt is a plant that grows quickly once the seed is sown. I had taken out the war axes, yes, but I was keeping them hidden. Attacking openly would be a move Ethan would expect. That wasn't my style. My style was to be invisible, to rot the enemy from within. My first goal was to gently undermine Ethan's seemingly unshakable reputation and Spaceway Technologies' trust in the industry. I started contacting my old clients. I had solid, long-standing relationships with them. Most of them still trusted me. I sent them subtle but suggestive messages. For instance, I'd say, "There have been some major changes at Spaceway Technologies. If you have any concerns about the future of your projects, I'm always here for you." This wasn't a direct accusation, but it was enough to create whispers in the industry. When smart clients realized that projects no longer had someone as knowledgeable and reliable as me at the helm, a seed of doubt was automatically planted in their minds. And you know, doubt is a plant that grows quickly once the seed is sown. Rachel. She was my greatest ally from the inside. Though she was hesitant at first, her resolve grew as she saw how Ethan was dragging the company into a swamp. She started meeting me in secret, leaking internal emails, meeting minutes, and suspicious project documents. Each document was proof of Ethan's ruthless and reckless decisions, and even some illegal dealings within the company. Especially the details of the negotiations with the Chinese firm. Those revealed that Ethan was practically selling Spaceway Technologies off like cheap market goods to line his own pockets. These documents were priceless to me. On the legal front, my former colleague and trusted friend Marcus Hale stepped in. He had established his own law firm, a sharp-witted lawyer who understood the industry's dynamics. I'll never forget the look on his face when I showed him the documents from Rachel.
David, these will end Ethan's career. Maybe even more than that.
Along with the documents from Rachel, Marcus began investigating the company's financial records. In a short time, he gathered concrete evidence showing how Ethan was manipulating company shares for personal gain and attempting to obtain illegal profits from projects. This was a blow that would not only get Ethan fired, but also legally corner him, leaving him gasping for air. While all this was happening, I was preparing the most critical move of my own silent revenge. I sat down at my computer, looking at my old code, the algorithms I had written years ago. At the foundation of some of Spaceway Technology's most valuable projects was an algorithm I had developed years ago called ChainSync. In a clever move, I had registered the core module of this algorithm to my personal account back then. At the time, thanks to the company's bureaucratic structure and my unlimited authority in my position, I was able to exploit this legal loophole. No one had noticed. Now, this code would be the key to everything that was once mine, but was taken from me. Silently, like a shadow, I was subtly questioning the patent rights and copyright registrations of my old projects. This was a move that would practically paralyze the company's current operations, showing that it was impossible for them to continue without me. Ethan could never have known how far ahead I was thinking. The boldest part of my plan had kicked in. The company, desperately trying to run my projects after I left, was starting to notice the absence of the key algorithm bearing my signature. Yet a spark that had occurred to me years ago had whispered that this moment would one day come. I had registered the core module of the ChainSync algorithm, the pride of Spaceway Technologies, to my personal account using the legal loopholes of that time. This was a completely gray area move legally, but technically, I was in the right. No one had noticed. Now, it was ready to explode like a mine right in the middle of the company. Marcus and I sent an official copyright infringement notice to Spaceway Technologies. The notice clearly stated, the core code structure and derivatives of the ChainSync algorithm belong to David Carter and cannot be used without his permission. This was a blow to the heart of all the company's AI-based projects, even ongoing client contracts. Without this code, many of Spaceway Technologies' projects became meaningless. It was like removing the engine from a car. Imagine the most fundamental product of a company being in someone else's hands. A disaster. As expected, the copyright blockade spread through Spaceway Technologies like poison in its veins. New investors quickly pulled back in the face of this uncertainty, as a patent lawsuit could wipe out the company's entire value. Existing clients began questioning the fate of their projects. While all this was happening, I was preparing the most critical move of my own silent revenge. I sat down at my computer, looking at my old code, the algorithms I had written years ago. At the foundation of some of Spaceway Technology's most valuable projects was an algorithm I had developed years ago called ChainSync. In a clever move, I had registered the core module of this algorithm to my personal account back then. At the time, thanks to the company's bureaucratic structure and my unlimited authority in my position, I was able to exploit this legal loophole. No one had noticed. Now, this code would be the key to everything that was once mine but was taken from me. Silently, like a shadow, I was subtly questioning the patent rights and copyright registrations of my old projects. This was a move that would practically paralyze the company's current operations, showing that it was impossible for them to continue without me. Ethan could never have known how far ahead I was thinking. The customers said,
What is this ChainSync issue? What's going to happen to our project now? What?
New contracts couldn't be signed and ongoing projects were grinding to a halt. The company's sales team was forced to explain this legal hurdle to potential buyers, and every door was closing in their faces. Ethan, with his influencer CEO charisma, was helpless in managing this crisis. This problem was too deep to be solved with a simple marketing campaign. Spaceway Technologies, by my silent move, was virtually paralyzed. Every day, the whispers reaching me from inside the company indicated that the paralysis was deepening.
The chaos within the company grew by the day. Maria Torres was crumbling under the weight of the projects dumped on her. She was utterly incapable of understanding David's complex systems, managing the team, and meeting client demands. Her every mistake highlighted how hollow Ethan's young and dynamic team vision truly was. The company's once smoothly running gears were now grinding, even coming to a standstill. Clients had begun complaining about Spaceway Technologies' declining performance. My phone wouldn't stop ringing, and my inbox was overflowing with inquiries from former clients. As I expected, these dissatisfied clients began looking for solutions elsewhere. My newly established, small but effective consulting firm became their first and only stop. Thanks to years of built-up trust, my former clients quickly started working with me. I provided them with better service than Spaceway Technologies, completing their unfinished projects with my own knowledge and my new team. This was not just a commercial victory for me, but also a heavy message to Ethan. Spaceway Technologies couldn't run without me. The company's shares had hit rock bottom, and investors were panicking, starting to sell their stakes. Ethan, on the verge of bankruptcy, was helpless in the shadow of the man he had once shown the door. As a last resort, he reached out to Marcus through his lawyer. The arrogance in his voice was gone, replaced by obvious panic and surrender. As Marcus relayed what they had said, I was smiling to myself.
David. Ethan's lawyer called. He says, "We want David back. We'll accept his terms. We'll give him whatever he wants. Just let this lawsuit end and save the company."
But this wasn't my final trump card yet. My cards weren't limited to just copyright. Through Marcus, I sent Ethan a much more direct and threatening message. This message contained all the details of the illegal technology sales negotiations Ethan had conducted with the Chinese firm, which Rachel had leaked. The information was so detailed and concrete that Ethan had no chance to defend himself. It was practically a stick of dynamite.
Ethan, the chain-sink lawsuit is just the tip of the iceberg. We have all the documents regarding the dirty dealings you engaged in while kicking someone who dedicated years to this company out the door, especially your attempts at illegal technology transfer to China. This isn't just a compensation lawsuit. It could turn into an international scandal. Your career and reputation could be destroyed in an instant, Ethan.
This message had Ethan caught in a double bind. On one hand, the company was paralyzed due to my patented software. On the other, he faced a much greater legal and personal threat. Panic had completely consumed him. Rachel, meanwhile, stopped hiding. It was time to abandon the sinking ship Ethan had piloted. She passed all the internal documents she had leaked to Marcus, revealing all of Ethan's dirty files. From his financial manipulations to how he siphoned off company assets and even billed personal expenses to the company. These documents would form the most crucial link in the chain of evidence Marcus held. Ethan was cornered both legally and ethically, with no room left to breathe. Ethan's predicament was a great source of satisfaction for me, but my real goal was justice. Marcus Hale, armed with concrete evidence, filed a heavy lawsuit against Ethan for fraud and breach of trust involving Spaceway Technologies. All the documents Rachel had leaked from inside, from Ethan's attempts at illegal technology transfer with the Chinese firm to his efforts to embezzle company assets, revealed every detail. In the courtroom, there was no trace left of his influencer CEO charisma. The cold, mocking expression on his face was gone, replaced by a pale desperation. The case concluded much faster than I expected. The evidence we had was so strong that Ethan had no chance to resist. The judge ruled in David Carter's favor and ordered Spaceway Technologies to pay me $5 million in compensation. This wasn't just about money. It was the restitution for 25 years of my hard work, my loyalty, and the old label unjustly placed upon me. I knew I had won. Immediately after the trial concluded, the news of Ethan Blake's resignation hit the company like a bomb. Subsequently, Spaceway Technologies shares went into freefall, and the stock market was in turmoil. The media didn't miss a beat. Newspaper headlines read, "Age discrimination lawsuit rocks Silicon Valley company, former executive triumph." This news not only heralded my victory, but also exposed the dark underbelly of Silicon Valley, the consequences of ageism and greed to the entire world. The young and dynamic image Ethan tried to build was shattered. He would never recover. However, the story didn't end there. The revelation of Ethan's attempts at illegal technology transfer to China transcended a mere corporate lawsuit and became a national issue. Silicon Valley's leading figures and government officials offered me their special appreciation for preventing this critical information from leaking out of the country. This unexpected contribution to protecting American technology security showed that I wasn't just pursuing personal revenge, but also how committed I was to ethical values and patriotism. I suddenly felt like a hero, though all I wanted was justice. Away from all this chaos, I used the compensation I won to expand my own consulting firm. As my old clients flocked to me, the projects Maria Torres had ruined were salvaged one by one. Rachel Kim left Spaceway Technologies after Ethan's downfall and joined my team, and together we achieved much more success. We had turned a new page. They cast me aside for being old, but they never understood the spirit of the times. Justice sometimes prevails not in courtrooms, but in the shadow of patience and strategy. And sometimes, an unexpected act of heroism protects the interests of an entire nation. That's how life was. Every end was, in fact, a new beginning. And my beginning now felt much stronger, much more like myself.